All right, guys, this is going to drive you absolutely crazy, and I know because it drove me absolutely crazy, and it is just so disturbing and so unsettling and devastating. Devastating is the best word to use for it. So take a look at this. New top Democrats are working behind the scenes to stop a vote on the Khan-Massi Iran War Powers Resolution, a vote that would force every member of Congress to go on the record over Trump's potential regime change war. This, ladies and gentlemen, is completely and utterly unacceptable. Hakeem Jeffries has to resign. Chuck Schumer has to resign. Democratic leadership is a disgrace. They're a disgrace. They should not only be forced to resign, they should be kicked out of the Democratic Party for low-key supporting Trump's illegal and offensive regime change war against a country that didn't attack us. Have we learned nothing from Iraq? Have we learned nothing from Iraq? Have we learned nothing from Libya? Have we learned nothing from the rise of ISIS and the rise of Al-Qaeda and the destruction of the Middle East and hundreds of thousands of people being killed and millions being displaced? Have we learned nothing from any of that? Or do you simply not care because you're beholden to the Israel lobby and the military-industrial complex? And honestly, I don't think I want to know the answer to that, because the answer might be incredibly unsettling. So, by the way, I have to give a tremendous shout out and a bunch of love to both Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is a guy, we disagree on the majority of issues, but as an actual libertarian, he generally is anti-war, right? So he also is saying, I'm against the war in Iran, and by the way, if Trump is going to do a war in Iran, it is completely and utterly illegal and unconstitutional for him to just do it. He would have to get congressional approval. That's how this works. That's how the Constitution works. That's how this system was structured, okay? It's not a debate. It's not up in the air. We know that this is how it's supposed to work. So Khanna and Massie doing the responsible thing, doing the correct thing, saying, okay, first of all, he can't wage a war unless he gets our approval. Second of all, here's a war powers resolution to get everybody on the record. Get on the record. People need to know where you stand on this, okay? Think about how consequential the war in Iraq was, and knowing the voting record and where everybody stood for the war in Iraq, that changed politics forever, right? You could argue that Barack Obama being so prominently against the war in Iraq, that was maybe one of the main things, if not the main thing, policy-wise, that helped get him elected, right? And Hillary Clinton supporting the war in Iraq, that was an albatross around her neck, which affected her negatively the rest of her political career, right? We need to know who stands where, but there's a reason Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are saying, no go, no dice, we don't want to do it. And they don't want to do it. Here's why, guys. Because they do secretly support the war. They do. Both of these guys are diehard Zionists. They are. And they've both taken a tremendous amount of money from the Israel lobby, okay? And the way they look at it is like this. It's a win-win, because if Trump succeeds and he overthrows the Iranian regime, that's great. Then you have, no regional adversary to Israel, and they can dominate the region. They love that. But if it backfires and goes poorly, that's great, because then, the Republicans and Trump are fucked anyway, and people will default to us. But they're taking the chicken shit way out of, we don't have to actually, take a stance. But they're playing like cynical, strategic politics with people's lives. By the way, Iran, when we attack them again, they're gonna fucking punch back. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when and where. It's gonna be, our bases in the region are gonna be blown to smithereens. They potentially have the ability to take out some U.S. ships. They potentially have the ability to take out some of our fighter jets. They're gonna punch back. In the 12-day war, they punched back at Israel and bombed a bunch of Israeli buildings. Okay? They're not a sitting duck. They're not going to lay in a chalk outline of themselves. There's going to be consequences. And we're so used to crusading and marauding around the world and doing whatever we want to other people and never getting any pushback that I think they've forgotten what war is actually like, right? No, this is actual war here. This is life or death. This is an attempt to do regime change of a country with 90 million people that's 4 times bigger than Iraq. A complex country, okay? It's not simple. It's not easy. But this is where we're at now. So the Democrats are basically chicken shit. They're running and hiding. They're sitting in the cuck chair. And I'm disgusted by it. I'm disgusted by it because when you guys look at the polling among the Democratic base, first of all, if you just poll the whole country, it's anywhere between 21% and 27% that support war with Iran, which is fucking nothing. I mean, any number is too high. Anything other than 0 is too high. But 21 and 27% is nothing. When you ask Democrats, it's probably above 90% of Democrats, maybe over 95% of Democrats go, Of course I don't want war with Iran. Why the fuck would I want war with Iran? And here are the leaders of the Democratic Party going, we will represent the 3% of Democrats who want war with Iran. You know, Jesse Ventura said the other day, and I now totally agree with this. If this country is going to go to war, it should be mandatory that every politician who is for the war needs to send one of their close family members there. You need to send somebody in your close family to go fight in that war. This makes it so that, oh, you wouldn't be so willy-nilly with your kid's life, would you? Would you? But when it's, the kids of poor people, fuck them. Who cares? They're the peasants. They're the slave peasants. Shut up and do what we say. So it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. They need to resign. They should be fucking kicked out of the Democratic Party. This is your Democrat in name only. This is dino shit. This is Democrat. This is diet MAGA shit. When we say diet MAGA, this is what we mean. You're low-key supporting a fucking bloodthirsty, warmongering, fascist imperialist. You're supporting him crusading around the world and toppling whatever government he wants and stealing natural resources and helping Israel set up their Fourth Reich in the Middle East by having no regional pushback? And the answer is yes. That's what they're doing. So call Hakeem Jeffries, call Chuck Schumer, fucking name them and shame them and tell them this is unacceptable. We need to have that war powers vote. Everybody needs to get on the record, and everybody needs to vote no. Vote no war with Iran. They're not a threat against us. They're not going to attack us. Nobody's even bothering to say they're going to attack us. Nobody's even bothering to explain any element of this. They're just like, let's do war, right? Insane how much we've lost our minds in this country. We need to push back against it. We need to be the voice of reason. We need to be the voice of empathy. We need to be the voice of de-escalation. We need to be the only sane people in the room, because apparently there are all the Republicans, except Thomas Massie, are frothing at the mouth, warmongering freaks, genocidal weirdos, and like what? Half the Democrats fall in that same category? Certainly all of Democratic leadership does. We can't let that stand. While we're talking about this, ready? Trump-Iran airstrikes decision to be guided by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff's advice? What the fuck do they know about this? Trump's decision will be driven by envoy's judgment on whether Iran is stalling on nuclear deal. Iran has said repeatedly, we don't want a nuke. It's un-Islamic. We don't want a nuke. Trump said the other day, they won't just say they won't build a nuke. And they're like, we won't build a nuke. Like, it's just, we're in the fucking twilight zone. And it's because they just want the regime change, because they just want to get rid of any regional adversary to Israel. But they're lying and saying it's about the weapons when it's not about the weapons. And by the way, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are two of the most corrupt people in the Trump regime. Two of the most corrupt people in the Trump regime. They have $100 million deals and billion-dollar deals. Jared Kushner is bought by Saudi Arabia and Israel, guaranteed. He's representing those governments more than he's representing the United States of America. The fact that they are going to be calling the shots here, like, what has this country even come to? We don't even have a government anymore. It's like, it's the shadow government of pedophile billionaires and bought off corrupt criminals. That's what this is. And they're going to be the ones calling the shots? Just so disturbing.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.